I'm a rabbi in northwest London in a synagogue, so I'm Jewish.
Brother Tom Platt. I'm a priest in the parish of Old St Pancras in the Church of England at St Michael's.
My name is Ali Hussein Datu. I'm a Muslim scholar.
There's a lot of discussion about a religious decline in London, and what do you think about that, and how does that personally affect your own congregations or religious communities in London?
I don't think there's an internal religious decline. Externally, yes. I think it might be difficult to see God and religion externally when we work in the city, when we go to meet clients, and if you look at London as a whole. But I think internally, whenever individuals set goals for each other in materialistic terms, be it fame or wealth, as soon as they attain even a slight amount of that, they realize that it's quite hollow and superficial, and that's when people begin an inward journey to try and find God.
The church loves to play the numbers game. Numbers in themselves don't really give much of a window into the human heart.
Sure.
I quite agree with you on that. In terms of my own church, I don't see evidence of that decline. It seems that London is holding up better in that sense than much of the rest of the country.
As I think you said, Ali, in the public discourse, in the public conversation, people don't seem to be too open to talk about God or to mention God.
Religion is a way of life. It doesn't mean that you have to speak about God to be religious, but it's the moral principles that you uphold. So even in the business dealings, it's not that I have a business life and a religious life. My religion has to dictate even how I do business.
I think I'm going to invite Ali to give a sermon in my synagogue. The way you do your business, the way you treat people, that's
Sure.
part of your religion. That's where you're really proving whether you're a religious person, man or female. Right? The true test of somebody really of faith, if they're really applying this, how their business dealings and how they treat their fellow human beings.
That's such a common value between, I think, every religion, not just Abrahamic faiths.
There are a lot of positive things that religious communities do in London. So we have gurdwaras, allowing people to come in and feeding them. So what is it that your religious institutions do specifically in London to help the community?
I could list the things that we do in churches around us. We're not unique. These sorts of things often which are ending up filling in the cracks left by failures or squeezes on public services. But actually fundamentally, I think what churches anyway provide places where we're not just serving community, we offer community, because there aren't many places left where you get people of varying different races, ages, sexualities and so on, all meeting together and working together in one place.
Giving money to charity, I think anyone can do, but it doesn't affect your heart. It doesn't change you as a person. There
are a lot of people nowadays who will say that religious institutions are not keeping up with modern day values. And would you say that this is true of your institutions or not?
The whole point of a religion is that we have divine moral boundaries that are given by a divine entity which do not change over time. Honesty, charity, truthfulness, these don't change by the progression of human race.
I think there are many people that feel they see religion, and to our sorrow, they see religion as a form of slavery or enslavement. And they see religion still as a throwback to times when authority was going to tell me who you are and what you have to believe in and how you have to behave.
In my own church, I very much want to reach out to LGBT people particularly, and I take a view of Scripture which looks at the entire scriptural arc of the life and the love of Jesus, in which I would find it very difficult to exclude any person or condemn any person because of what seems to be their scientifically proven natural sexual tendencies.
Many people are very cynical about religious leaders in London, and we see this in headlines about radicalisation, mistreatment of children, or even the fact that religious institutions can often be seen as money-making businesses. What do you think about that, and what would you say to those people who are brewing in cynicism?
I think Islam seems to be in the spotlight when it comes to radicalization. And there will be pockets of extremist tendencies in every religion, in every organization. There's no doubt that yes, there are Muslims who have these tendencies and ideas that are not accepted, and the fact that they're not moral means that they fall outside the boundary of Islam in the first place anyway. And then they label themselves as Muslims and of course tarnish the reputation of Islam. The media doesn't help either. When certain organizations and broadcasting companies want to interview a Muslim, they tend to take the most radical Muslim they can find, instead of finding somebody who would agree with moral principles, disagree with what's happening on the television. It does hurt, because you realize that this is not Islam and this individual is not speaking on behalf of the majority of Muslims at least.
I think people are, thankfully, they still expect more of their faith leaders. Whether it's a priest, a rabbi, or an imam, they expect them to be held on a higher standard.
I suppose the most obvious one is child sex abuse, and that's not a media fabrication, that's real. It happened. It happens. And it's abominable. And indeed, as a Christian, I believe that they will be answerable to God for what they have done. In the meantime, the church needs to work to make sure that these things don't happen again, and the media is quite right to focus on those things. I wish, on the other hand, that it would focus rather more on some of the positive aspects of our Christian leadership and indeed of religious belief and religious leaders in the world. But unfortunately, bad news is the best news, isn't it?
There are all manners of faiths in London, including the Aetherius Society, Baha'i, and even paganism. Why do you think it's London specifically that is such a spiritual hub?
I think it's the freedom of expression of our faith. Also the fact that we respect. I think to tolerate a religion or a people or a principle means that I don't want it to be there, but I'm tolerating it until the time comes where I can get rid of it.
In Britain, nobody cares what religion you are. Whether you go to church or a mosque or not go or a synagogue, it shouldn't make any difference.